It's time
for the last commercial break.
Yeah.
It's Friday. You know what that means. A new era of professional wrestling starts right now with AEW Rampage. I said I demand a thank you. What the hell? Good God Almighty, the rope just came off. John Moxley. I don't think he's here to say thanks. Brothers and Young Bucks have been through a war. The thunder and the lightning of John Moxley leaving his mark. Good God Almighty, the referee down.
Hello, boys and girls, and welcome to Story Time with Adam Cole. That guy.
Darby Allin. He'll take a chance. Pull the top.
hello, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I guess we can officially take that greeting since Disney's not going to allow it at their parks anymore because they're weird. Welcome back to your favorite podcaster's favorite podcast about AEW Rampage. That is Uncaged, right here on Channel Attitude, brought to you by the good people at Hameen Media Group. You're on with me. I'm Chris Ambs. That's AMBS, like lambs with no L or bullshit first thing in the morning. I'm here with well, I guess my two regular co-hosts at this point, since it's 2 weeks in a row. I'm going to go with Godzilla Sierra Romero himself, the Gardener of Doom, Jeff Lippman, to start with. Jeff, how the fuck you doing, man?
Doing great. This is exciting. 3 weeks in a row on Uncaged. My star has really arisen. And you know what? He was talking about me earlier. I am your favorite podcaster. And now I can be yours as well with the team, the Timo Supremo. It's like, I don't know, Batman and the Wonder Twins here or something something along those lines. We'll get it worked out before the show is over. But happy to talk some Rampage with the crew and to the world.
My thought at first here is that if we're going to be comparing to like superheroes and stuff, since you're the Gardener of Doom, I think that you should probably be Swamp Thing. I think that just makes the most sense. I don't know of any actually good Australian superheroes, but I do know a super podcaster from Australia. My usual co-host from the PWC, Jimmy T. Jimmy, how the fuck are you, mate?
I'm great, man. I'm great. And I'm just I'm pumped up to talk about Rampage right here on Uncaged.
Yeah, we're going to be talking about Rampage. But before we get into that, since I know you guys may want to have a conversation about it, and you know I don't give a flying fuck, it's WrestleMania week. Yay! Is anything interesting going on in WrestleMania? Because nothing about this weekend has me excited at all.
Well,
Sure,
hey,
of course.
first of all, tell him, Jeff, Samoa Joe is all elite, apparently, even though he debuted on Super Card of Honor.
Yep, that's true. Super Card of Honor came out, a show that was sort of mired in confusion and a bit of controversy and really underwhelming. There were reportedly 250 tickets sold before Tony Khan said he was taking over the booking. Now, this came from Tony Khan, but other people had said the ticket sales were very slow. Anyway, they pretty much, I think they had over 1,700 tickets sold as of yesterday, and they only released about 1,800 and change. But yeah, I mean, a lot of titles changed hands. Some didn't, but of course it's because they couldn't. Like the main event was already booked, so you could. I mean, so one guy was claiming he never lost the championship. One guy was the sitting champion. We don't need to get into the whole Ring of Honor story, how it didn't really make sense within Ring of Honor canon. But I don't know how much you want to go into it. But yeah, I mean, Samoa Joe showed up. Tully Blanchard came out with a new faction, which included Khan from Shane Taylor Promotions and Tio Leone, in addition to Brian Cage. Sanjay Dutt joined Jay Lethal in turning heel. Mercedes Martinez, I guess, is the interim Women of Honor champion, even though there's a active Women of Honor champion just on somebody else's roster. So it's still a little bit confusing, but listen, everybody loved the show. Everybody's saying great things. I think they kept just enough of what was Ring of Honor with, let's face it, which was stale and not going anywhere, and they brought in enough that was new, and they brought in some old, like Samoa Joe, who's old, but he's definitely a Ring of Honor legend. So I really think they struck the right chord. I just hope that they get some sort of TV deal sooner rather than later. I dare say that it's not too early to predict that the second they do, if not already, they will be the number 3 promotion in the U.S. immediately over Impact, and they might already be in reality.
Interesting.
Because nobody's talking about the multiverse card, which was today and had some pretty exciting stuff. And I've asked for it. I haven't heard anything about the Control Your Narrative card, which was yesterday, Thursday. I haven't heard a thing. I can't find anything. Yeah.
Wait. There was a Control Your Narrative card yesterday.
Yeah, and not just a card. I mean, aside from EC3 and Braun Strowman, you had Eric Redbeard. You had the guy who was Killian Dane with whatever his name is now. You had Flip Gordon on it. You had Vincent. You had Killer Cross. You had Austin Aries. I mean, there are names on this card. I mean, big names. So to hear no one saying anything about it, or for not to accidentally making its way into my Twitter feed, is bizarre.
That is bizarre.
Absolutely. What do you think, Jimmy? You think Ring of Honor has a chance to become the number 3 promotion over the very, very tough competition that Impact is giving it right now? I mean, really, I'm just kidding. I haven't watched Impact in a long time. They might be doing great. I just haven't seen anything from Impact. Jimmy, you think they have a chance at number 3?
Well, if Ring of Honor continues their working relationship with New Japan Pro Wrestling, which it looks like they are, well, yeah, why not? They can easily become number 3. The only thing, I saw little clips here and there, and Jeff, since you watched the actual event live, I just want to know, did it feel like, was it a very much an AEW presentation? Because it felt like I was watching AEW.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, but what were you expecting? I mean, that's
Right.
and frankly, objectively, that's smart. I mean, I hope in the near-term future, I mean, by near-term, I mean 6 to 12 weeks after they get TV, that there's less of the AEW influence. I don't mean none. I think it's cool when there's interplay and there's stories that overlap, but not so much. I mean, yeah, it very much felt like an AEW show. I mean, even people who were in Ring of Honor, like Wheeler Yuta, went over the Ring of Honor person, Josh Woods, for the Pure Championship. Now, Josh Woods has been on Dark, and he actually won a match on Dark, and they gave him some interview time. But, you know, nobody knows if Josh Woods is going to, well, somebody knows, but it's not me. It's not the three of us, if he'll be working with AEW or not, or if this is the end. I mean, it makes sense with the AEW story that Wheeler Yuta is trying to get in good with the Blackpool Combat Club. That's something that they would respect. Pretty sure that Bryan Danielson held the Pure title. So, you know, that would be something that would say, look what I did, guys. I belong. I mean, so it fits within the story. I'm not happy about it because I think Wheeler Yuta is a zero, but it makes sense. The FTR is your Ring of Honor champions. They beat the Briscoes, who won the GCW championship the day before. Actually, not a whole lot of talking about that card either, which is strange. You know, we've all heard that the Briscoes have been banned by Discovery and Time Warner from being on AEW, which is not necessarily Ring of Honor, but right now it is. So I'm not sure where the Briscoes stand. This might be their last dance with Ring of Honor for the time being, forever. Maybe not. Who knows? There's a lot up in the air. But the Young Bucks came out and attacked FTR at the end, which, you know, obviously that's a feud that's going on in AEW, not Ring of Honor, but it sort of says that, you know, the Briscoes are sort of put to the side with the new champs FTR. So, I mean, it's hard to separate a lot of AEW people from Ring of Honor because there's so much overlap there and there's so much of a relationship. But yeah, it did feel more like an AEW show. I mean, you had your surprise run-ins, you had your deep cuts like Sanjay Dutt, who I don't think many people would know who that was. Then you got your old WWE guy, but also Ring of Honor guy, Samoa Joe, coming in. I think everybody was happy to see. I don't know. But I'm going to say this. I think it cut almost the perfect note, with the exception of Wheeler Yuta, which I understand, even though I don't like it.
Okay.
All right. Well, that's been your Ring of Honor bit of news here to start off
Good night,
Rampage
everyone.
Uncaged. Let's get into the show. Yeah. We start off in the ring. It's Young Bucks versus Top Flight. I'm going to say this before we even get started. I fucking hate the commentary team.
Why is that, Chris?
It's one heel. It's one face who's not even really a face. He's just kind of a very bland, like he has nothing interesting to say. He just calls the moves out and he wears a mask for some stupid fucking reason. And then three heels, you know, two of which are legends, one of which is sort of a newer wrestler. The two legends bicker back and forth, trying to sort of be the bigger heel. It's just bad, dude. I can't handle this. There's not enough bite back. If you're gonna do this thing where you've got heels on commentary, you need to have a face who can bite back a little bit. Even if it's just, the Gorilla Monsoon biting back in disgust reaction. I need something better than Excalibur because this just gets aggravating. It gets to the point where you're like, oh, will you shut the fuck up already? You almost want to mute the show. Is it just me, Jimmy?
Well, he is the main guy. He's the main play-by-play guy. So, I mean, he has to keep talking, right? And let's be honest, when you've got Starks, Jericho, and Taz on color, it becomes a clusterfuck. And to blame Excaliburto is a little bit harsh because, in my opinion, he's already got a lot to handle as it is by being the main play-by-play guy. But yeah, him wearing a mask while doing commentary is a bit stupid still, in my opinion.
I think Jericho's the problem. I mean, he's constantly yelling, and
sure,
and he never remembers within a show whether he's a heel or a face. And I mean, the thing is like, I don't mean this in a bad way because actually the show's been much more palatable. But Rampage, they've sort of given up on trying to make it another million people watching show. They sort of know that they're the 400,000 or 500,000. Maybe they'll get to 600,000 periodically, and that's okay. So they're not putting CM Punk on every week. So Jericho doesn't need to be there because I know he thinks he's a draw. So put on someone that's actually a face and that's funny. And I hate to say it, but they've got 42,000 people on their roster. I mean, Colt Cabana at least has a personality and a sense of humor. He's not doing anything else. Put him on there. He can talk. He can talk back to Taz, and he knows the names of moves. I'm not saying he's the best choice. He's just one that pops into my head because I haven't done an inventory. But you're not paying him to do anything. I think he's going to be back in Ring of Honor. He was there tonight, which makes a little bit of sense. But I mean, if you're using people for both, why does Jericho need to be doing this also? He's the head of Inner Circle Single A. So shouldn't he be like scheming with them and not on commentary?
Yeah, I agree. The whole commentary thing is just I think the Chris Jericho is the biggest problem. But again, if you're going to have three heels, you need to have somebody else on commentary who can at least act as a palate cleanser. And Excalibur just doesn't do it. He just comes off as very British cooking. If you understand what I'm talking about, he's bland.
Yeah, British cooking.
It's warm tap water. He's room temperature tap water.
Yeah, there's nothing. He doesn't do or say anything to get anybody excited. And I think you're right. I think Colt Cabana would even be a little funny on commentary. I think he could, and I think that he could lay in a few little jokes at the expense of the heels, which might at least make bits and pieces of this entertaining. As it is, there's a few things that just drove me nuts. First of all, he called this a, quote, highly anticipated rematch. And I just have in my notes, shut up, Excalibur. Who was highly anticipating this? Who's been sitting on the edge of their seat going, oh God, I really hope we get another Top Flight versus Young Bucks match after their last match, which was, I don't remember when. Like,
I think it was November last year, actually. That's what they said.
So, okay,
Wow.
so Jimmy, who's been waiting? Yeah, who's been waiting on the edge of their seat since last year for this fucking rematch?
Me, damn it, me. Nah, look, let's be honest, all right? It was a good match. We're expecting it to be the type of match that it actually was. And look, it was full of spots. It was full of bullshit, like pretty much. And the Bucks got the win in the end. But nevertheless, it was still a decent match, but very much a Bucks match.
Listen, I don't actually think it was a decent match. I don't think it was a match. I think it was several spots strung together. I just don't find this thing to be listen, I'm very impressed by the athleticism of Top Flight. The things that they were able to do with some of the tag team moves that they were pulling off tonight, great timing, very impressive. I know I physically couldn't do it, but there were lots of moments in this match where it was very clear that everybody was doing their spots. Oh, now you grab me and then I'll grab you. And then, no, we got to switch arms here. Okay, now you're ready to do the flippy thing. There's no story. It's flips for the sake of flips. Too many super kicks. I struggle to call this wrestling. I just really honestly struggle to call this a wrestling match. It was wrestling theater. I don't know. Jeff,
I agree with Chris. There are some matches that feel like they're combat theater, and there are other matches that feel like they're stunt dancing. Like you're seeing, a choreographed circus act when Cirque du Soleil took the circus to stage. And that's how I feel with the Young Bucks matches generally. But sometimes, depending on the team that they work with, it works. I think these two teams are too similar. I also have a feeling that Top Flight probably looks up to the Young Bucks, as they probably should. Why not? They've had great careers, and they're in their early to mid 30s already. But I didn't think this was a great match. I thought it was exactly what you thought it would be. And when the extraordinary becomes commonplace, that makes it ordinary. And I think so this was ordinary. And so when you look at it through those lenses, I didn't think it was a particularly good match. But aside from that, I understand that there's people like Chris who aren't going to like that. There's people like Jimmy who are going to like that. I may fall into the Chris camp, but my bigger problem with this is that Dante Martin was built up as a star for the better part of a year. Then Darius Martin comes back, and all they do is start losing singles together as a team. If this is going to be your bright young future, if these are supposed to be your Young Bucks of the future, don't have them losing matches on TV. Have them beating people on Dark. There are other teams that could lose. You have other face teams. You have any number of the Dark Order. You have Griff Garrison and Brian Pillman that can lose. You have, frankly, anybody really on the team. You could put Kazarian and Christopher Daniels together again. Reform SCU, one more time. It doesn't matter. They've got a million people they can put together who can be sacrificed to the Young Bucks so the Young Bucks can win. Because this is not advancing some big rivalry with Top Flight. It's advancing the Young Bucks versus FTR, which I guess at some point that's important because the Jurassic Express are the champions and don't fit into this at all. And don't get me started on Santana Ortiz. What the hell are they doing? I mean, why they, again, never mind. I said, don't get me started. I'm getting started. But yeah, I agree with Chris. But listen, if you want to kill 14 minutes just watching wrestling out of context, this was fine. This was fun enough for Rampage. But I thought it was sort of the low point of the show for me. The rest of the show I thought was pretty good.
Yep, yeah. As Jimmy stated, it was a BTE for the win. We get a video package. They tell us about the problems between Chris Statlander and Layla Hirsch because it's such a great feud with so many stakes. Chris Statlander says, "Welcome to the other side of Chris Statlander." All I could think is I wouldn't mind being introduced to the underside of Chris Statlander. Hey, but yeah, Jimmy, are you excited about the other side of Chris Statlander?
Not really. I guess she's more of an alien now. I mean, seriously, or less. Whatever the fuck she is, I don't give a fuck. Straight up, I don't care. And this Hirsch, red velvet and alien woman over there, I'm already sick of this feud. Let's just move on already because let's be honest, we're getting nowhere with this feud other than maybe later Hirsch is the only one that's kind of getting over when it comes to this sort of program, but really no one is getting over anyway. So let's just move on because I don't give a fuck.
Yeah. I lied when I said that the other match was the low point. I actually forgot this happened. This was the low point.
Yeah.
I'm happy I can remind you. Coming up next is I don't know. I don't I'm getting kind of tired of Lambert, to be honest with you. It seems to be getting a little samey whenever he comes out.
Yeah.
I did like that he made reference to Sammy and Ty being the new
Brandy and
being the
Cody.
new Brandy and Cody in AEW. It's pretty. wha- it's pretty see-through, to be honest with you, that they are positioning them as that. They're the couple, from AEW now, and it's, whatever.
I've got
Sammy
a,
appears and he smashes a car with his girlfriend,
yeah,
which
I've got
I
a huge
guess.
gripe about that, actually, just quietly.
Okay, well, I was going to say, just before I get to it, kudos for having an interesting idea for a date. I mean, I usually go with dinner and a movie, but I guess if you're dating a Brazilian chick, you smashed somebody else's car. Jimmy, you had a gripe.
Well, first of all right, if we're supposed to suspend our disbelief, and maybe it's just me, maybe not everybody thinks this way, but I can't help but think, shouldn't the cops get involved? Wouldn't Dan Lambert call the cops and, like, say Sammy Guevara and his Luchasaurus girlfriend named Taya Conti, shouldn't they be getting arrested or something like that? I don't know, man. Maybe it's just me. Maybe I'm just, overthinking this type of shit. But really, and besides, why would Dan Lambert care about his BMW SUV getting beat up when I'm sure he's got insurance on the car, right? So, I mean, what's the big deal?
I mean, nobody likes to pay more money. Jeff, if somebody smashed up your Lamborghini, you'd be angry or not?
Yeah, my Lamborghini, I absolutely would be. But if it was my 15-year-old X3 that was supposed to be
Yeah.
treating, three professional overgrown
True.
men and Paige Van Zandt, then yeah.
Fuck.
I mean, my favorite part of this by far. I mean, there were a few favorite parts, and one was standing in the ring. Another was, of course, Ty Conti when she first swung the sledgehammer. She couldn't handle it, and it fell into the car, and then she had to grab it through hopefully it was protective glass or whatever, but she had to grab it to do something else. But whatever. It was a wrestling angle. I mean, why aren't the cops involved? Because Tony Khan bought that car 11 hours ago from a car dealership that asked for $6,700 for cash for that, and he's like, can't pass inspection. He's like, I don't care.
That's not the point, though, Jeff. You know what I mean? We're not supposed to be thinking like that.
Okay,
but
here's the point. They did it in about 30 seconds and spray painted "Be Mad" really quickly and walked away. So maybe
just to get yourself into more
4 or
shit.
5 minute response time, even in the best of circumstances.
But mind you, Jeff, it was
Uh-huh.
supposed to be on live television, right? For the whole world to see. I mean, aren't you pretty much dry snitching on yourself?
No,
I mean, I don't know. Will Smith didn't get arrested
slap on international TV, and so now everything's
right. Okay, all right.
Exactly. Everything's allowed on TV now.
Right. If crimes are done in public, they're okay.
Well, technically,
right.
they were out in public, right? Per se.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. All right. Well, speaking of out in public, I have no idea. That's an awful transition. Tony Schiavone tries to do an interview with Hook. Hook doesn't get a chance to say anything as Danhausen comes in. Very silly and trying to curse. And he does a very bad job. He points and he says, bang! But nothing happens, and he's very, very confused. Danhausen is silly. It's fine in small doses. I usually laugh. I usually don't like silly stuff in my wrestling. I'm fine with Danhausen as long as they keep it in these small doses. Jeff, you've talked about Danhausen in the past. Do you like this usage for him?
I mean, this is silly, but I mean, Hook is silly. Everything about Hook is silly. Him being a face in a heel faction who is being particularly heely tonight is silly. So, I mean, I think it's safe to say that the fever surrounding Hookamania has broken, and now he's just another guy, and they don't know what else to do with him. They had him do QT. I guess they didn't want to go through the rest of QT's little factory, or maybe they're being non-renewed. I don't know. So put him with Danhausen. It's a very low impact feud. Danhausen can lose. Nobody cares. Danhausen's not supposed to win matches. And then in 6 or 7 weeks, they can figure out what to do with him again. I guess it'll be a magic against, whatever counter force that Hook has, or maybe he just doesn't believe in magic and thinks it's make believe. And, doesn't realize it's sports entertainment and thinks it's professional wrestling. So,
What's wrong with him, Tony? He's doing the
anyway, what? Why didn't it work? It worked on everyone else. No, it didn't. This guy cursed like 3-1 times versus the person. So it doesn't usually work, or at least not on Dynamite. But anyway, he's a demon. He's bad at math too.
Jesus Christ. Look, man, you know what? This is not Hook's fault that this is happening. This is totally AEW's fault, in my opinion. Because since he's won a Revolution against QT Marshall on the pre-show, mind you, what have they done with him? Nothing. His heat is totally gone.
They position him like Goldberg. He can't look like he's hurt. He can't lose to anyone, or it all goes poof pop. So
That's true too.
So this is all they can do with him. And then when they turn Orange Cassidy heel, that's what they can do with him. I mean, this is it. This is Hook. Hook is going to be king of the welterweights.
Oh, shit. Well, I hope for his sake that they do something. But you're right, Jeff. They have booked themselves into a corner because what do you do with him? You can't have him losing just yet, right? And if he does lose, who does he lose against? Maybe if you have like a tag match with Hook and someone else from Team Taz, and where he loses the match, doesn't need the pin, but gets a loss. Maybe we need Hook out of Team Taz. Is that a possibility?
Sure. You know who I'd like to see Hook face? Dominic Mysterio, and the two of them can fight forever. Just on the Bifrost. Keep going.
Fight forever somewhere else. Fight forever somewhere else.
Oh, that'd be great.
For the 9 rounds.
Yeah.
All right, let's leave my ancestors stuff out of everything involving Hook and specifically Dominic Mysterio, who still can't wrestle. Danhausen, though, very, very nice, very evil. I wonder if his evil can hold up to the darkened House of Black Thrones in the Darkness, who make an entrance next. Chris Jericho says it brings chills to my arms every time I see this. Shut up.
Wear sleeves.
Fuck.
You can't help it, man. Rampage is becoming a comedy show week in, week out, man. Especially with Jericho on commentary, forget it.
Jericho has one that's even worse later. All right. They face the Dark Order and Fuego del Sol. The Dark
Order was available, right?
Yeah, exactly, because there wasn't anybody else there except the entire group of Dark Order who came down to the ring to look stupid.
We'd love to help you, but we got to go get some smokes.
Yeah, we really need our ciggies. Okay,
Absolutely.
So it's the Dark Order versus the Dark House of Black Thrones in the Darkness, featuring Fuego del Sol. So at least there's some light going on in this match.
There's some light. That's right.
All right, the Dark House of Black beat up Fuego to start the match off. There's some back and forth in the commercial break. The ref loses control of the match. Everyone's everywhere doing everything. There's no such thing as time limits when people get tagged in. Nobody has to tag on the hands. Nobody has to hold a rope. It's just jump in if you feel like jumping in. Fuego showing heart, I put that in quotation marks, to stand up to the Black House of Dark. It's not enough.
That's Corazon.
What, corazon?
All right, and the Black House of Darkness, Black, win the match. I don't know.
Hey, you got to give
the Black House of Dark Thrones beat the Dark Order of Dark Ideas or some nonsense like that. I'm not sure exactly how that works.
You got to give Fuego some credit. He sold that kick at the end by Malachi Black. Pretty funny to me. I started laughing, man. He looked mangled.
I don't have to give him credit because he does that in every match he's ever done in his life, because that's what his role is.
But he looks dead, man. Every time he sells for somebody, he looks absolutely dead. So you got to give him that. He's a good seller.
That's his one move to look to look dead. But I mean, there was a
shit.
point where the entire House of Black was in the ring and they were facing off against the Dark Order and Fuego del Sol, and it just looked ridiculous. Just the visual of how gigantic Buddy Matthews looked next to all of them. You know, I mean, Stu Grayson is supposed to be
205 live, Buddy Murphy.
I mean, he looked massive, and the other guy. I mean, it just looked like three major league wrestlers against three shindy dingy. You know, not even indie, just shindy land, and that's what these guys are. You know,
boy.
You know what? Not everyone needs to have their contract renewed, and you know, Evil Uno tweeted tonight. Evil Uno is co-workers with Samoa Joe, and I try not to be mean because I know someone who tends to torment him. But I was thinking about saying, probably not for too much longer.
Yeah.
There was nothing really to write home about this match. You know what I mean? The House of Black Order, Darkness, whatever you want to call them, get the win pretty easily. This is just nothing but a throwaway match. And like Jeff said, he's spot on. It looked like three actual stars against three shindy guys. And I mean, geez, I still can't believe that WWE would release 2 out of the 3 of the House of Black.
Neither can I. It's true that both of those guys should have never been released. I mean, talking about decisions that WWE makes is its own series, not just a show. But this is, I mean, it's weird because they had Revolution, which we talked about, which was way too full. And so you had House of Black win a feud against Death Triangle, except it wasn't really Death Triangle's Phoenix wasn't there. And they brought in Eric Redbeard, and it's nice to see him get some work, but that was the end of his gig, and he's gone. So it really was, it was a good match. It was unnecessary because obviously this feud isn't over. Now, we've talked about us before, how in AEW feuds, even when they end, they don't end. Deeb, Sheeta, we're seeing this with Statlander and her again, Cole Page. I mean, it goes on and on and on.
Punk MJF.
Yeah, Julia Hart and House of Black, maybe. I whatever it is. But then we had Pentagon Oscuro doing a promo again with that useless sidekick of his, who
Obscuro.
Obscuro, is it? No, that was my mistake, wasn't it? Isn't it Oscuro? I don't know.
No. I'm just saying he's obscure. He's Pentagon
yeah,
Obscuro.
that's it. That's right.
I wish he was John Cena and I couldn't see him. I mean, and more importantly, I couldn't hear him because he's terrible. And he actually, I mean, I'm sorry, I was not a Paul Bearer guy. I thought that he made the Undertaker look cartoonish, and I think this guy makes Penta look cartoonish just when he's supposed to be harnessing something that's not cartoonish, and he doesn't need a translator. And if he does, there's other people who can translate for him. But Penta's like Asuka. He can speak in his own language. I don't need to understand the words to understand exactly what he means. It's enough.
I agree.
Like, he's lost that menace with this guy speaking for him, who has absolutely zero menace. Anyway, that feud's still going on. So obviously they're just waiting for Phoenix to recover. It was supposed to be recovered. Well, by now, by mid-February, it was supposed to be back. And now it's, early April. So I don't know. I mean, I don't mind the Death Triangle feud because these are 6 great performers, and it's fun as hell. I just don't know who wins and where they go from there, if it's not trios titles.
For sure. Well, Jimmy, I want to back up a little bit to the last match here, where it was the Dark Order versus the Dark House of Black Thrones or whatever. You know what that visually reminded me of? Like, you play the 2K games, right? I'm sure you've gone through like community creations, right? When you're searching on community creations and you look up like highest voted, right?
Yeah.
And it's just awesome, right? And like all these characters, they look great, they look spot on, right? And some of them, they're even originals, and you're like, man, like this would make a killer character for a wrestling, for wrestling. This is really something I got to download. And then you switch to newest downloaded. And it's like Barney, and like you're just like, who the fuck made this? Why?
You're right. I never look at newest downloaded, man. I learned my lesson a long time ago by looking at that shit. But you're right, man. You're spot on. They're just some people. I don't even know. Have you seen some of the Kenny Omegas, bro?
I've seen some things on there where I'm just like, Why even bother? Why would you even pretend you were trying this? Like,
I hope it was a kid trying that shit, bro, because
fucking hell.
some of them are really bad. But you're right, man. Evil Uno, Stu Grayson, who we both didn't know was a French Canadian. I mean, we knew he was Canadian, but not French, right?
Yeah, that was awkward.
That was awkward bad. I think Grayson has a lot of potential. Evil Uno was better when he was fatter than he is now. Let's be honest, right? And when there was Super Smash Brothers in the Shindies before they were called the Dark Order, they were kind of a lot better than this. Either way, they're not my cup of tea. I don't like them. Get rid of them. Just get rid of them. I just can't stand these guys, man.
I really just think that the Dark Order should join the Dark House of Triangle Deaths
Please,
and
no.
Fires
No.
or whatever, and just have like one big giant faction where you have all the darkety dark characters together.
Too many.
You could have them led by Abaddon. That'd be great.
God.
Money. You can print the money, AEW. Just listen to what I'm saying. No, but seriously, there's too many. There's too many stupid little references to the Undertaker on AEW. It drives me nuts, and I love Taker, but it's like, come on, guys. Like,
Yeah. Too many dark of the darknesses in AEW. I mean, obviously, Dark is in All Elite Wrestling.
Everybody
Dark is
can't
new
be
light.
some form of darkness or fire. It's
Yeah, exactly.
I don't care if you use darkness or fire or use the Spanish words for darkness or fire. It's still just darkness and fire. It's come on, let's
Yeah, I'm taking notes
move it
here.
along.
Chris wants Glacier back. Got it.
Yes, fuck
Hey,
yeah.
He did make a few appearances in AEW after all, so why not?
Sure.
I much prefer Buzz. I thought that was the better character.
The Iceman King Parsons.
Oh God. All right. Jamie Hayter versus the Hunt for Red October. What?
Oh shit. Great
It's a
movie,
pretty
by the way.
It's a pretty standard squash match here. Purple Rain shows some good athleticism.
She's better than Jamie Hayter, isn't she?
You know what? I think Orange Julius might be better than Jamie Hayter in the ring.
Hey, I must say, Blue, what was her name? Sky Blue. She
Sky
looked
Blue.
bloody great tonight.
Yeah, I
I'm just saying.
I think she looked good. I mean, you know, her and Red Velvet should they could be the primary colors or something.
Adding Jade, and you got green as well, man. Why not?
This is, I swear to God, like like Tony Khan is just reliving his kindergarten. Like that's what he's doing with AEW. All the
It's
girls
weird,
are a
bro.
color. All the
It's weird.
all the groups are triangles or circles or lines or hectagons or dark thrones or whatever the fuck. I swear to God, he's just reliving kindergarten, or he just happens to be so rich that no one has actually interacted with him since kindergarten for anything other than his money. I don't know.
100%.
All right, Hayter gets the win over Stinky Pinky using the Ripcord Lariat. Fine.
Big important match.
Super important match. We're just gonna jump right over it because who cares? Penta Obscuro says some crap in Spanish. ... Anyway, Mark Henry.
Actually, can't continue? Can't just say one thing. What he
Go
did
ahead.
say, from what I remember, this is funny to me, is that you play with fuego, you get burnt. That's what he said. So yeah, play with fire and you will get burnt. So apparently, after what happened to fuego, it's all on now, dude.
Yeah,
Oh.
if that was the case, why wasn't he there helping Fuego instead of leaving him with those losers?
Because he was hanging out in the darkness.
Yeah, he was
couldn't see.
he was trying to find his way out of the closet. It was too dark in there.
Yeah.
Zones of darkness that like are impenetrable barriers until Tony Khan hits the garage door clicker to the right one. Zzz, zzz. It's like elimination.
Also, I just
chamber.
want to point out how much it makes sense that that Penta Obscuro would be wanting to defend Fuego del Sol, because all Mexican luchadors protect guys from Arizona. Like,
No,
They all-
Arkansas. It's from
Alabama.
Alabama. Sorry, right? It's Alabama.
Jesus Christ, that joke is even better now. Wow. Yep. Because that's what all the Mexican people out there really want to defend is Alabama.
Orale.
And why would a dark Pentagon want to save the guy who is the fire of the
light.
sun?
Right.
I mean, wouldn't that be his like nemesis?
I think maybe they just need like something to turn on the light when they're all hanging out, right? They just have him around, they just clap, and then he lights up for them or whatever,
Well,
right?
you're right,
And then
because
they can
Phoenix
actually
isn't
see what's
around
going
right now.
on.
He's just ashes. So yeah.
Yeah, this is dumb. I feel so bad though. Just before we move on again, for Pentagon Obscura, whatever you want to call him, obscure, because he's really hanging out in obscurity right now. But they need to change the course with him. Otherwise, they've totally destroyed him if they haven't already.
Zero direzione.
Yeah. Zero direzione. That sounds more Italian, though, what I just said. But anyway,
Zero
doesn't matter.
intelligence, zero story, zero lots of stuff. He's got all kinds of zeros next to his fucking name.
Hope they're on the check too.
Yeah. I mean, hey, yeah, he's getting paid better than I am, so good for him.
True.
Anyway, yeah. Hang on a sec. I'm getting into character here. Thanks, guys. Jimmy, it's you're a wrestler, right? You do that wrestling stuff. You and Jeff are going fight later. What you think about that?
He's from Texas, Chris. Come on. Oh, wait. No, he's not. Where is he from?
Are you going to be Hobbs or are you going to be Keith Lee? Because I need
All
to get
right.
a character too.
All right. I'll be Keith Lee. I'm from Texas.
Jeff, how come you look mad?
Because in the house of Hobbs, I will give you Bible verses to tell you that you will not bask in the glory, but you will bask in the defeat of my big muscles as I destroy you, and you will bask in death of the darkness. Oh no, that's someone else's, and someone else's, and someone else's. And so, never mind. I'm gonna beat you, Keith Lee, because this is my show. Mine and Taz's and Ricky Starks, and not Hooks, because he's not really with us, except when he is, except when he's not. So I'm gonna beat you.
No, Hobbs. You'll be basking in my glory hole. That's what will be happening. That's funny.
Well, it's time for 3 more commercial breaks before the end of the show. Fuck me.
Oh man,
He
you gotta love it, man.
He really has that
He can
snarl.
do it. Yeah, he can do it, man. He's good at it too, man. God,
He
look,
looked
it is what it
jacked.
is.
He looked fucking jacked, bro. Like that
He
dude
He's
was
getting
looking
better.
fucking great.
Hey, honestly, he's getting into more better shape every week, man. If you remember when he first started out, he had muscle, don't get me wrong, but he had a bit of flab on him too, you know what I'm saying? But now
he was swole, but he wasn't jacked.
Oh yeah. Did you hear the skirmish about Big Swole, the new what was it again? El
Grande.
Gigante Swole.
I did, yeah.
Hey,
Andrade
Grande
is
Swole,
going to
that's
be Swole Largo.
Right.
But I saw Hobbs on Dynamite, and I know why he's in such good shape. You could see it all over his skin. He's got acne all over. So
are you insinuating that he's on the B12s there, Jeff?
all of the B12s, the
B52s. He found every single one in Florida and is just hogging it.
Yeah, he found Miguel Tejada's stash.
Well, they don't deny the steroid use if you watch Being the Elite just quietly.
Would you stop trying to get us to watch Being the Elite? It's bad enough that you put it on the skirmish, and I saw it on the version where I couldn't fast forward anything.
Oh, dude, I was spewing that I couldn't fast forward while I was playing it.
It's your fault. Don't play it.
I didn't know that was going to happen, but anyway.
I second that. Please, no more Being the Elite on our show.
Well, no more surprises on live TV.
Yeah.
All right.
Experimented before.
All right. Well, as Jeff was referencing, there were some book references and talking about basking. It was not a good interview. It never is, because Mark Henry. I don't know. I love
time.
Mark. He's
for
bad
the main event.
He's aggressively bad at this. You know. I love me too, but if you put me like in competitive running, I would look ridiculous because I'm not built for that shit.
Well, we are
Anyway,
the three pillows.
yeah, that's right. We are the three pillows. That's right. I can lift shit. I'm big and strong, but I'm not really built for endurance. Anyway, Mark
Speaking of big
Henry,
and strong,
also big and strong.
Right.
Hobbs versus Keith Lee is your main event. I like this match. It's a couple of hosses pushing each other around to start the match. Jericho calls them two mooses, which isn't a word, by the
Yeah, I
way. The
laughed at
plural
that.
is moose. More than one moose is just
Yes.
moose.
it's not Moose Eye.
No, it is not moose eye.
You sure it's
Did you
not
know that
Moose Eye?
octopi or octopus really is like it's very unclear as to which one of those two things is actually correct since both are used in different places. But mooses is just wrong. Like nobody says mooses
Mooses.
except
I think
Chris
it's because
Jericho.
Jericho is used to ordering the desserts, which
Yeah, I was
mooses
thinking
would
the
be
same thing.
appropriate as
That's
opposed
true.
to like Brock Lesnar would know the correct use of moose.
Guaranteed.
I know.
Guaranteed.
It's meese, like goose and geese.
No. No.
Oh,
Listen,
shit.
trust the Canadian on this. It's
Ugh.
moose. Not that Canadian. That Canadian Chris doesn't know what he's talking about. This Canadian Chris knows what he's talking about. Okay, just look for the
Yeah.
red
Now I'm
beard.
confused. Now I'm really confused.
All right. Well, Keith Lee moves really slow after a little bit in this match, and I'm not sure if he's doing it because he's selling, because it honestly seemed to take the impact off of some of his punches. He was moving so slowly. So I'm not
Well,
sure if he's just real heavy and it takes him a little bit to catch his breath or what.
well, can we call him, instead of calling him Limitless, right? Can we call him the conductor, Keith Lee?
Hmm.
I mean, he loves doing this all the time.
He does, yeah, not as an electrical conductor, but as in a musical
No.
conductor.
Like a maestro.
Musical conductor, like a maestro, right? Except,
Mhm.
yeah, hey, that's even better. The maestro.
And it's
Keith
classy. He seems very
Yeah.
classy and sort of like, educated elite type.
Oh, that'd be brilliant. And he actually comes out with, what do they call the conducting stick? That we're talking about sticks
That's it,
after
the
all on
conducting
commentary.
stick. Chopsticks.
Oh, is that what it's called?
It's
Or a
chopstick,
chopstick.
singular.
There goes the racist Olympics once again. But anyway, speaking of sticks, they were implying that one of them have a small stick. Did you hear that on commentary?
No, dude, please elaborate.
Apparently, Keith Lee has got a small stick.
Oh.
Wonderful. Well, I did catch a funny thing. I have been complaining about the way they announce Keith Lee, and this week it sounded even funnier.
For he is
So-
limitless.
So just saying like "for he is limitless" is not proper English because why? What are you talking about? Therefore, he is limitless, because that's what "for he is limitless" means. Therefore, he is limitless. So when you just say "for he is limitless," so this week they did it better. They actually said weighing in at 340 pounds, "for he is limitless," just letting us know that he can get heavier. He can absolutely put on some more weight, guys.
Yeah, he's
seriously.
getting pretty fat, actually, man. He's going to become limited if he's not careful.
I wonder about how big he can get healthy because I know he's a large man, but I mean, 340 pounds is pushing your heart pretty far.
Yeah, no, you're right.
I'm
Sorry,
thinking
Jeff.
he was
continue.
340 before he got there. I'm thinking he might be more like 360 now.
Yeah. He
Shit.
legitimately seems to have gained some weight. Both guys sell their back in this match, which makes sense because you've got two big, strong guys who are trying to use their power to push each other around. There's a bunch of interference by Starks and Swerve, leading to Keith Lee winning the match. Swerve goes through a table. Lee goes through a table. We go off the air. Everybody's through a table.
You forgot that that also Ricky Starks took off one of his what do you call them? His loafers, and was whacking Keith Lee with his shoe.
Which just seems like that shouldn't hurt someone who's that large.
That's why I was laughing.
Yeah, especially
so
since I'm
dumb.
sure that they're soft leather.
Yeah, exactly. And I hope his
Well,
feet don't stink either.
Well,
But
also Starks was bleeding, cut open hard way because it's an AEW show. So of course somebody's going to bleed accidentally. But Swerve, your single star, has come in and is immediately put into a tag team, feud with Keith Lee, another single star, along with Ricky Starks, who's supposed to be a single star, along with Powerhouse Hobbs, was supposed to be pushed as a single star. But there's no room for anyone because you have to keep room for whoever's next, and for Omega because he may come back, any season now.
Yeah, that's true. I agree, man. That's why if I was TK, I would push most of these guys down to Ring of Honor, and I think it'll benefit everybody all around if they actually did that.
They need to do something.
I don't know how much you want to make it AEWB, versus, you have to keep some of Ring of Honor, but it definitely should be a pressure release. I mean, that's why I have mixed feelings about some of the signings and the new additions, because they didn't really need new additions. They just could have put more people there. I think in some way, Tony Khan wants to employ every wrestler who's ever been on TV, who's not currently on TV with another promotion. I mean, I think he really feels like he's going to rescue wrestling. What he doesn't realize is he's rescuing wrestling short term by destroying wrestling long term.
Yeah, I agree.
That's not an exaggeration. I think that's exactly what he's doing. Because it is wrestling, for the first time in a really long time, we're seeing relatively big shows, right? 1 million people watch Dynamite. It's real wrestling. It really is a wrestling show. It's not terribly good wrestling, but at least it's not sports entertainment. I really honestly feel that way when I watch AEW. I think, well, it could be worse. I mean, I this could be a monster clown, or a Cuban who's really not a Cuban, or 18 other things that are just silly out of WWE.
You mean like a luchador who's from Alabama?
That, yeah, well, there's that. But yeah, but he won't release any power, not just release wrestlers. I think that's something that he is going to have to do here moving forward at some point, but he won't release any power either. And the few times that people have done things that have been really entertaining or have got people talking, he's jumped in and gone, "Oh, hang on now. I'm going to have to book all the shows moving forward because this got through, our safety valve, because Max Caster said a funny rap about that chick who didn't go to the Olympics because it was more important for her to smoke weed." Like, I don't know, man. He's gonna have to give up some power, and I really honestly think that if he wants to own both AEW and Ring of Honor, and I know he doesn't actually own AEW, I know his dad does, but if he wants to quote unquote own both of the companies, he needs to let somebody else run one of them so that it can at least feel different. You can still have the connective tissues, you can still run them as if they're sister promotions, but you want to make them actually feel like they're different promotions, because that's how you get people interested. In SmackDown and Raw haven't been interesting since they were literally run as separate brands.
Well, to be fair, TK should bring in someone like a Gabe Sapolsky or something like that to help run Ring of Honor, even Joe Koff, someone, right?
Bin Hamin.
Oh, yes, Bin Hamin.
Yeah, I don't know why you would bring in people who have been failing for the last 10 years. I mean, I know that you're going to say, well, they didn't have a budget, they didn't have freedom, but so what? I mean, at some point you get creative. I mean, Lucha Underground was entertaining without a budget. MLW manages to do it. But, that's one of the things I find really interesting about this Ring of Honor acquisition, because, I mean, I don't know what Tony Khan's actual booking philosophy is. I know what I think it is, but in the beginning, it wasn't just him. The Bucks were doing tag team. Kenny was doing this. Cody was doing that, and who knows who else had ears. Jericho seemed to be doing a lot of stuff. Then Tony took charge, but when did he take charge? Does he waver and give it back sometimes? I think he does. I sense differences in shows. So if this is just him alone, we will see what his booking philosophy is alone. Now, it may be exactly as Chris thinks. I wouldn't bet against Chris. I mean, he's one of the smartest guys I know. But it's an interesting experiment, and it'll play out, before our eyes. But yeah, I think he needs help on both promotions. But I don't think he likes hearing the word no, and that might have been one of the reasons. Neither does Cody, and that might be one of the reasons why him and Cody, it's been sort of acrimonious and weird. But I don't know that Cody wasn't the problem. I mean, nobody seems to like him.
Well, apparently Kenny's actually back to his duties with the women's division. So Kenny's apparently in the back doing his thing.
Okay.
As far as TK's style of booking goes, you know what it reminds me of, Jeff? Actually, sort of like Vince Russo's style, sort of like Crash TV, which sometimes it comes across as a little bit of a mess every week on Dynamite and Rampage. But that's what it feels like. And that's why we call it sort of bipolar booking, because it's just all over the place. It's up here, it's down here, it's there, it's to the left. It's just everywhere. And that's what he reminds me of. He likes to shock people, but there's so much you can try to shock the fans, and so many surprises you can do every week when the surprises are going to run out and run thin.
Let me ask you guys your honest opinion. Do you notice a difference between Dynamite and Rampage on the tenors of the show and the shock value and the Crash TV aspects of the show? Because I do. I think there's a lot less on Rampage. I think Rampage is closer to a traditional wrestling show. Dynamite's calmed down a bit lately, and that's not necessarily a bad thing. I'm not crazy about all of the pairings and stuff like that, but the tone of the show. But do you agree with me or not on that one?
I agree 100%. Sorry, Chris, but continue.
No, that's fine, Jimmy. Yeah. I think that if you wanted to put it in order of what Tony Khan thinks is important, he thinks the in-ring is the most important thing about professional wrestling. I really believe that that's what he thinks. And I think that next to that, he thinks surprises and big poppy crazy things that people are going to talk about on the internet are the next most important thing. I think that the reason why you see a difference between Rampage and Dynamite is that on Dynamite he has 2 hours, so he feels like he can fit in other things other than the in-ring stuff. And I feel like on Rampage he feels a little more constrained, which I honestly think that Rampage is pretty consistently the better show, because he is a little constrained and he can't be trying to shock you, every couple of things. He has to just be like, well, they're fighting because they have a problem with each other, and it's simplistic, but simple wrestling can be great.
I agree with you, but I have another theory that is not necessarily against that one, but maybe supplements. I'm just not sure which is the 2/3 and 1/3. But I think that Dynamite is so much Crash TV and Shock TV and Surprise TV because he has put this pressure on himself to make this the flagship show that he needs. He really, like they did 979 this week. I think that's fine. I think that's good. I think they should be happy. But that he wants to break 1 million. That he wants to be over 1 million consistently for 6 or 7 months. He wants to show that growth. He wants to get past that debut show where they did 1.4 million. But he wants that million means something to him, and that's what he's doing. At some point, he let go of the pressure with Rampage, and he's just like, you know what? This show is going to do what it's going to do. The network is happy. They're satisfied. And this isn't my flagship show. Dynamite's my flagship show. I think with Ring of Honor, it's going to be the same thing. He's not going to feel that pressure for the ratings. Whatever TV deal he gets, whether it's on a Viceland or Discovery or Destination America, whatever cable channel he gets it on, it will be in a non-pressure situation. So if he brings them 400,000 or 500,000 a week, that will probably be the best performing show on that network, period. And he won't have the pressure, and so he can calm down. I think he puts a lot of the pressure on himself. I know I like to say it's cocaine induced and whatever, but I think he puts a lot of it on himself. And I actually give him credit that he's able to encapsulate it, at least to Dynamite and pay-per-views. Now, really is Dynamite. The pay-per-views really go fairly straightforward. There's not a lot of crash right, except for like 1,000 people in a match. But there's not that much outside interference as consistent with Dynamite. But it's the craziness is mostly Dynamite. So I'm hoping that's what we'll see in Ring of Honor. I'm not sure in the beginning, but I think once they find a network to pick them up and put them on a whatever Thursday night 9 to 10 or whatever, that maybe he'll be calm there too. And I like the calmer Tony Khan because we all wanted Vince Russo with an editor. I mean,
Yep.
we're all long-time wrestling. Wrestling doesn't need to be perfect. It just, we want to see half the stuff that we either like a lot or like. Then we want like some percentage that's okay, we can give or take it. And if we can't stand 25% of it, doesn't matter. 75% is an A+ in wrestling.
Yeah, wrestling fans are pretty forgiving for sure. Jimmy, what would you like to see them do with Ring of Honor? Because I feel a lot like what Jeff is saying. I would really like for it to be sort of the calm down and wrestle kind of stuff. But I would just like to see it with a bigger budget and a wider audience, because I've watched Ring of Honor a couple of times, but it seems so low budget when you're watching it that it's hard for me to get into. It sort of reminds me of Impact. Even if it's really good, there's 16 people in the audience. It's hard. It's really, really difficult. Unless you're there live, which again, I live in the middle of absolute fucking nowhere. I'm not going live. But yeah, Jimmy, what would you like to see them do with Ring of Honor?
Well, to be honest, it did feel like a bigger deal this time around just because of AEW's production, and that's why it felt like an AEW show. So I'm all in for that. No pun intended. I like that, right? You know what? If I was TK, I would go all in with Ring of Honor and you know what? Build it back up. Even if it means it has to compete with AEW, so what? So be it. You own both companies, right? Does it really matter? And then let's be honest, Ring of Honor won't overtake AEW anyway in terms of any sort of TV ratings, because it won't be on a network that's going to be large enough like AEW shows are on. But I want him to take it seriously. I want him to like make it a great show, and I'm sure it will. And if he goes by anything like the way he books AEW, then that's cool. That's a good thing in many ways too. But as long as it's not a mess. But as far as the in-ring work, it's Ring of Honor. It's always been known for its in-ring work. It will still be good in-ring. And I'm kind of excited for it, man. There's a new breath of fresh air coming up after tonight's pay-per-view. I actually think, good things are coming for Ring of Honor, man. And I'm actually quite excited about it.
Right on, man. Right on. Well, me too. Well, it sounds like all three of us are excited about what's coming up with Ring of Honor. It sounds like the two of you are excited for WrestleMania weekend.
I'm looking forward to it. I won't lie, man.
But Jeff, tell the people where they can find you.
Well, oftentimes here, oftentimes on some other products that are related to this fine show, sometimes on the Blow Off, which is on Atmark and Hameen, sometimes on Carnage, sometimes even on the Skirmish, but always on Hammerlock Hangover, which is a wrestling show I do with Big Daddy Cool Steve Pena. Our WrestleMania and Stand and Deliver predictions are there. Also, Kevin Castle joined us from the Kevin Castle, formerly Don Tony Kevin Castle show. He's on.
That's the KC.
Yeah, the Castle and Chicky podcast adventures. He's all over the place. He's a legend. My non-wrestling shows, Garden of Doom. Last week, Vincent the Horror King from Impact and Ring of Honor was my guest. We talked about horror movies, and this week I just released, just minutes before we went on air, Who Are the Berbers? So the Berbers are sort of a mysterious amalgam of peoples in Northern Africa, and I don't know who the Berbers are, so I called in the host of the History of Africa podcast, who taught us who the Berbers are. So we talk about that, and then some myths, legends, but mostly just straight history, because that's how Andy gives it. And so a little educational deep cut there. And then Garden Views is the sister show. I've been doing legal theme, and this week I released a show on suing state sponsors of terrorism, mostly the story of two lawyers who blazed the trail, actually made the new laws on how to sue, and they sued Iran for the bombing of the Marine barracks in Beirut in 1983. And it's actually a really good story. If you hate me, if you hate my other shows, if you hate everything I do, how's that possible? But if you do, you still want to listen to the show, because it's really an amazing story. And at some point, Hollywood's going to pick it up. Someone's going to make this story big.
Sweet. And it'll probably be Michael Bay, and it'll be awful, but the story is great. Jimmy T, where can the people find you, bud?
Well, you can find me right here on channelattitude.com and at Hameen Media Group, but also you can find me at the pwcnetwork.podbean.com, where you find all our shows. And if you want to follow me on Twitter, you can at DJ Mass Effects and also at the PWC Network. I think that's about it there, Chris.
Right on. Well, thanks for listening, everybody. So for Jimmy T, for Jeff Lippman, for the PWC, for HMG, for Channel Attitude, and for everybody else, for all of you listening, we have been Rampage Uncaged. We'll see you guys next week. Peace out.
Stay evil, my friends.